What if a single idea could shape not just your philosophy of life, but the entire rhythm of a civilization? What if a gentle, wordless path, one that tells you to let go, be still, and follow the flow of nature, quietly influenced art, politics, medicine, literature, and even the way a society breathes? In China, Taoism, or Taoism, has done exactly that. Though it began as a humble spiritual philosophy, whispered in the lines of a poetic text over 2,500 years ago, Taoism has become one of the most enduring threads in the fabric of Chinese culture. From ancient sages like Laozi to the rituals of modern temples, from the calligraphy in royal courts to the herbs used in traditional medicine, Taoism has left its imprint not through conquest or control, but through quiet influence, slow wisdom, and natural harmony. This is the story of Taoism in Chinese culture, and how its subtle power still flows today. Welcome to the Unfolding Journey, a space where we explore the timeless teachings of spiritual traditions, ancient wisdom, and pathways to inner peace. If you're curious about how Taoism shaped not just individual lives, but the soul of an entire culture, you're in the right place. Let's walk this path together, from the mountains of ancient China to the heartbeat of the present moment. The origins, Laozi and the Tao Te Ching. At the heart of Taoism is a mystery called the Tao, the Way. It is the source of all life, the pattern of nature, the unfolding order of the universe. The earliest and most essential Taoist text, the Tao Te Ching, is attributed to Laozi, or Lao Tzu, a legendary figure who lived in the 6th century BCE. Laozi was said to be a court archivist who, disillusioned with the corruption of politics and human striving, rode a water buffalo into the mountains and disappeared. But not before writing down his 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching at the request of a gatekeeper. Those short, poetic verses became a spiritual guidebook not only for individuals seeking harmony, but for generations of Chinese culture, influencing how people thought about nature, leadership, action, and virtue. Core Taoist values that shaped Chinese culture. Before we trace the historical development of Taoism, it's important to understand the core values that made it such a powerful cultural force. Wu Wei, effortless action. Taoism teaches that the best action is often non-action, not in the sense of doing nothing, but in doing nothing that goes against the natural order. Wu Wei shaped how rulers governed, how artists painted, and how people lived, with a preference for flowing with nature, not pushing against it. Xiren, naturalness/authenticity. To be Xiren is to be spontaneous, real, unforced. This value led to a deep respect for natural landscapes, organic forms in art, and the beauty of simplicity. Simplicity, stillness, and silence. Taoism taught that truth is often found in silence and stillness. This gave rise to a reverence for minimalist expression, from ink painting to poetry, and even to the design of Chinese gardens and homes. Harmony with nature. Rather than trying to dominate the natural world, Taoism encouraged alignment with its rhythms. This principle would be seen in medicine, agriculture, martial arts, and ecological practices. Taoism's relationship with other Chinese traditions. Taoism did not develop in isolation. It existed alongside Confucianism and Buddhism, sometimes competing with them, and other times blending in uniquely Chinese ways. Taoism versus Confucianism. Confucianism emphasized social order, duty, hierarchy, and ethics. Taoism, in contrast, promoted spontaneity, personal freedom, and spiritual introspection. While Confucianism was often the philosophy of the state, Taoism became the wisdom of poets, mystics, and hermits. Yet both were deeply influential, and many Chinese scholars practiced both. Confucianism in public life and Taoism in private retreat. Taoism and Buddhism. When Buddhism arrived in China from India, it found a kindred spirit in Taoism. The Chinese interpretation of Buddhism was shaped by Taoist concepts, giving rise to Chan Buddhism, known as Zen in Japan, which emphasized meditation, simplicity, and intuitive understanding. Taoism in Chinese politics and society. Despite its non-political nature, Taoism did influence governance. Some rulers embraced Taoist values, especially during the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE, 220 CE, when Taoism was officially recognized and even promoted by the state. Certain emperors sought advice from Taoist sages and Taoist alchemy. The search for physical immortality became popular among the elite. However, Taoism's greatest impact on society wasn't in government, but in the lives of ordinary people. through its integration into festivals, medicine, healing rituals, and folk religion. Religious Taoism, gods, temples, and rituals. Over time, Taoism evolved from a philosophical path into a religious system with temples, deities, priests, and sacred rituals. This development began during the Eastern Han Dynasty, when religious Taoism, Daojiao, took shape. Taoist religious practices included worship of deified sages, including Laozi as a god, rituals to harmonize with cosmic forces, alchemy and internal energy cultivation, feng shui, or geomancy, for aligning space with natural energies. Even today, in rural and urban China, Taoist temples are places of prayer, healing, and community, a living embodiment of the tradition. Taoism in Chinese art and literature. The aesthetic legacy of Taoism is one of its most beautiful contributions to Chinese culture. Painting and calligraphy. Taoism deeply influenced traditional Chinese ink painting, where the goal was not to depict a scene exactly, but to express the spirit of nature. Artists left blank spaces intentionally, evoking the Taoist idea that emptiness holds value. Calligraphy, too, became a spiritual discipline, a way of channeling the flow of energy through brush and ink, mirroring the Tao. Poetry. Taoist thought echoes through Chinese poetry. Poets like Li Bai and Wang Wei wrote verses celebrating mountain solitude, flowing rivers, the moon's stillness, and the fleeting beauty of life, all deeply Taoist themes. Taoism in traditional Chinese medicine and martial arts. Taoist ideas are also embedded in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. The principles of yin and yang, qi, life energy, and balance are central to acupuncture, herbalism, and dietary therapy. Similarly, Taoism shaped martial arts such as Tai Chi and Qigong, where the emphasis is on soft, flowing internal energy rather than brute strength. These practices focus on alignment, breath, and harmony, classic Taoist virtues in physical form. Taoism in modern China and beyond. In the 20th century, with the rise of communism and political change in China, Taoism faced challenges. Temples were closed, and religious practices were suppressed during the Cultural Revolution. But Taoism never disappeared. It lived on in rural communities, in folk practices, in medicine, and in art. Today, it is experiencing a renewal, both in China and globally. Many people now turn to Taoism for stress relief and mindfulness, ecological and sustainable living, a counterbalance to the pressures of modern life, spiritual insight that doesn't demand dogma. Taoism has also spread across the world through translations of the Tao Te Ching, the popularity of Tai Chi and meditation, interest in minimalism and flow-based philosophies, cross-cultural studies and spiritual seekers. Living Taoism today. Taoism is not a path of strict rituals or beliefs. It is a way of seeing, a gentle orientation to life that values presence over perfection, flow over force, silence over shouting, nature over control. You can live Taoism today by spending time in nature, practicing stillness and breath awareness, letting go of unnecessary striving, listening more, speaking less, accepting change instead of resisting it. The Tao isn't a thing to chase. It's something to tune into, like a song always playing beneath the noise. From Laozi's mountain retreat to the city temples of modern China, Taoism has flowed like a quiet river, shaping the landscape of Chinese culture, thought, and spirituality. Its legacy isn't just in books or statues. It's in the way people walk, speak, create, and breathe. It lives in the wisdom of nature, in the rhythm of the seasons, in the simplicity of being. In a world that often moves too fast and reaches too far, Taoism reminds us. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Tao Te Ching. That is the Tao. Always present, always flowing, still shaping lives then and now. If this journey through Taoism and Chinese culture spoke to your heart, let the path continue. Subscribe to The Unfolding Journey for more reflections on ancient wisdom, spiritual simplicity, and living in harmony with the world around you. Tap the bell so you never miss a new insight. Like the video if it gave you something to think about or something to feel. And share it with someone who walks the same path. Until next time, be like water. Flow gently, live simply, and trust the way. Peace.